Firstly, I'd like to kick things off by asking you how this whole event came about. I mean, it really feels like the timing for this event is perfect with everything that's going on with women in sport right now and, female empowerment.
Yeah, I think it's just the natural course of events. If you want to, I feel like people always want to put a start time on this, but it's hard to say where the evolution for WWE started. But if you go back 3 years ago when our fans started the hashtag of Give Divas a Chance, and you say it started there, it trended globally for 3 days. Their demand for this has now evolved to where we are now. It's, the opportunity for women to step into what they've worked so hard for all these years and decades is to be respected at the same level as everybody else. If this was a pay-per-view with just guys, no one would be thinking about it. But it's a pay-per-view with women. They've earned the spot. They've main evented. They've headlined. They've stolen the show. They've done everything it takes. And now, to me, this is the capping moment of that achievement to say, and look, I don't think this should be it needs to happen all the time thing, because to me, talent is talent.
Yeah.
And that's what you really want in equality. Your talent is talent. Your main event, you're the main event. I don't care who you are. But this moment says we can stand on our own. This moment says we can do this. We can main event, not only main event, we can be the whole damn show if we choose to. And like you said, now is the time. It's the right time for the world. It's the right time for them. The talent base is deep enough to where they absolutely can carry their own event. And I wouldn't want to be on the show following this event.
You mentioned the hashtag there, Give Divas a Chance. I guess, did you ever expect the women's division to come such a long way in such a short space of time? Like, I remember back WrestleMania 29, where under time constraints, the first match to go was the women's match. And you fast forward just 5 years, and we're now having an all women's pay-per-view. Did you ever think we'd see this in such a relatively short space of time?
In the beginning, when we were very first changing even how we trained the women at the Performance Center in NXT, I thought it might take longer. When I really started to think this can take place so much faster is because when we did the Mae Young Classic the first time last year, as we dug into the women for the show, and I started to realize the depth of women that were out there doing this on their own with very little opportunity, with no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow of trying to pursue their dream, right? Them just out there grinding every day to try to make it just like the guys, except for on the independent scene, only maybe having one match on the show. Maybe they could be a valet, or they had to wrestle a guy. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they don't need that, right? They can steal the show. You put two women in the ring that are good, they'll steal the show just like anybody else. If they work hard and, it's the same level of entertainment and respect. So that was the moment for me when I started to realize, like, this can happen so much faster than I thought it could. And along the way, you've seen it. You've seen them steal the show at WrestleMania. You've seen them main event. You've seen them have Hell in a Cell and Royal Rumbles, and you've seen them do everything along that way. This is that moment, and it's a little bit faster than I originally thought, but I'm thrilled that we're here, and that's on the drive and dedication and the passion to perform and do what we do of all those women.
Yeah. And I mean, you touched on it there, but like you said when you mentioned the Mae Young Classic, but I mean, it's great to see this elevated platform for women across all the brands. When it's kind of been rumored, I don't think people would have expected to see the finals of the Mae Young Classic involved. So I guess, what's the main purpose of Evolution? Is it to give a voice to some of the upcoming women from the developmental brands? Or is it purely to showcase the talent, such a depth of talent? Or is it something else entirely?
To me, it's what WWE is, and the history, the legacy of WWE, and all the women that have come before this, they live forever through that, right? Whether that's Mae Young or anybody from her through. Their legacy lives forever through that network, and you're going to see that in this event at Evolution. You will see the the stars of today, of the Ronda Rousey, Charlotte, Alexa, Sasha, Carmella, Nia Jax, Asuka, right? You're going to see all of them. You're going to see then the next kind of level of, I dislike to say the future with NXT because they're global stars, but you're going to see the Shayna Baszlers and the people like that as they represent that brand. And then you're going to see so that's the then, the now, and then you're going to get to see the forever. You're going to get to see that next generation of superstars, of the people that are competing, and the finals of the Mae Young Classic. And to me, that represents everything. It tells you where we've come from with the involvement of Trish Stratus and Lita and these legends. Shows you where we are now with the women that are stealing the show on a night-to-night basis through Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And then it shows you that the women who 5 years from now, 10 years from now, are going to be stealing that show into the future. And that this is not a one-off. This is the current. This is the status now. This is where it is at. This is to me, the final line on it is equal.
You mentioned there kind of about developmental athletes. Obviously, an event like this is so motivational for these kind of women. It's something to train towards. We know you oversee talent recruitment, but how else do you develop upcoming female talent? We know that in most instances, superstars, they're not made overnight.
They're not, but we find athletes from all over the world. To be honest, the process is no different for the men than it is for the women. Mm-hmm. We go into regions. We have a recruiting site if you're interested in WWE, but we go into regions. We recruit top athletes from sports, from athletics events, from entertainment, from all over the globe. And then we bring them into the performance center. If it becomes a passion for them, if they get through the tryout and it's a passion for them, and because it takes a lot of work, and but if they have that passion and that desire to do it, then the process starts, and it's just training, right? And it's no different. We train them the same way. We go through the same stuff. They go through the same thing everybody else does with the guys. To be honest, the women are much, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on the phone with a woman and talking about a women's event. To be honest, half the time the women are much tougher. They will gut through stuff and push through stuff that the guys are on the floor laying down in a puddle asking if they can stop. It's look, it is what it is. They're more into the grind sometimes. They're more disciplined. I'm not saying everybody, and I'm not saying across the board, but probably more often than not. We just man, if you have the passion for this and you want to do it, we will push you hard. And if you can make it through that, you can be something special. And the thing with the women, for me right now, is you have the opportunity to change the world. You have the opportunity, like you said, for little girls, little boys too, but women, men all over the world to see something different and see that they can do anything, see that they can achieve whatever their heart is, whatever their dream is, whether that has anything to do with WWE. To me, that's a lesson for these women that in what was a male-dominated industry, that if you work hard, you dream it, and you work hard, you set your mind to it, you do anything. And when we went to Abu Dhabi and people said, "Oh, the women will never wrestle there," never, and they wrestled there. They had to change their gear, but they stood in that ring and they wrestled in front of men and boys and women and little girls, and the people standing cheering them had tears in their eyes, chanting, "This is hope." Like that you have an opportunity and a platform to change the world, but you have to be on that platform. You have to be there. You have to be willing to do the work to change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that because I kind of feel like there's a more broader movement going on right now in terms of the prominence of strong female athletes and that being viewed positively. Because if you go back, 6 years, women's boxing was only just being introduced to the Olympics. And now we've got these huge stars like Katie Taylor in boxing, like Ronda Rousey, who tore it up in MMA. And you've got these really strong, positive female role models. But I feel like WWE set fire to this movement. It was far more progressive than traditional sports. Like, even in Hollywood, they're only now having female superheroes in lead roles. And WWE just seemed way ahead of its time. You could turn on Monday Night Raw and see someone like China who really blazed the trail for female empowerment. So, I don't know. I guess the question here really is if the world is finally catching up to WWE, then where is WWE taking us next?
Well, I guess in my mind, the thing that I always go back to is I wish in some way this wasn't even a conversation,
Hmm.
right? Like if you want equality, then the conversation doesn't happen about trying to create equality.
Hmm.
Um, to me, do the women need to have their own pay-per-view? No.
Mm.
Can they? Yes. And that's the proof point here, and that's to me what is so big about it. Will we do this again? Probably. I don't know, but like the proof point is we can. We don't need to. We can. Can the women wrestle a guy? Sure. Right? Can you do intergender matches in WWE when they're done well? Yes. Mixed match challenge, the Ronda Rousey in our match at WrestleMania. Absolutely, it can be done. It's not needed.
Yeah.
Women don't need a man in the match to make it good. They don't need it to be the main event. They don't need it to steal the show. They just need the platform and the opportunity. And that's equal platform and equal opportunity, no different. And if they do, they will work just as hard, if not harder, than anybody else to steal that show. Right now, they still have stuff to prove.
Yeah.
And that's what this event is. But once they've proven it all, hopefully the conversation goes away and it's not seen any different than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a couple of last questions. I know you kind of touched on it there, but so will it be a mainstay in WWE programming?
I think that's a question to be answered down the road, right? Do you like I said, do you need to have it be a women's only event? No, just like we don't need to have a men's only event or anything else, right? I think that if the opportunity is there, whoever is the best, whoever is the most prominent box office attraction, that is the main event. Doesn't matter if that is Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, WrestleMania. It doesn't matter. So can they have their own event? Can this be a mainstay? Yes. If our fans want it and it's the right thing, then we'll give it to them. If the better proposition and approach is to say no, they're just going to have that opportunity like everybody else does, and just give them that, then that's what it will be as well. I think the market, sort of the fan base, the WWE universe will dictate to us what that next approach and what that next step is.
And just lastly, we've heard that some legends will be returning too, the likes of Trish Stratus and Lita. Can you tell us about any more? And do you have any spoilers and some of the matches that we might see?
So
Or
at
not?
this point, when as we're talking, and the event is not till October,
Yeah.
lots of things can happen and lots of things can change. I know that our intent will be to represent women of the past, present, and future. Trish Stratus, Lita, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of women that want to perform. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of women that want to be a part of the show, and then there's going to be a lot that we're just hopefully, they're going to want to be a part of it. Obviously, we can't include everybody, so hopefully they're going to want to be there. They're going to want to be a part of the event just being in that arena and being a part of it, because they all share in this moment. If they've ever laced up a pair of boots and they've ever stepped through the ropes and they've ever performed in front of a crowd doing what we do, being a sports entertainer, this is their moment. And they should all, whether watching at home, following along on social media, if they're in the arena that night performing or not, they should all be extremely proud and be proud and be smiling big, because this is their moment. This is what they all work so hard to achieve, and hopefully we'll give them the opportunity that they deserve to put on the show that I 100% absolutely know that they will.